Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe, and I will see you guys all in the next video. Bye, guys. There would be nights where I would just be sitting on my floor, just completely done with everything. Like, I just didn't care anymore, and that's because of how he treated me and made me feel, which I should have been the most important thing to him. He should have been like being there for me through everything. I'm out of breath. Like, I should have just been like, he should have been treating me like royalty because I was carrying his child. I was doing so much for him. I did so much for that kid. Like, I bought him stuff. I was always giving him food. I was constantly looking for money to get him cigars. Like, I did so much for him, and in return, I was treated poorly, and it just never hit me that I was being treated poorly, and that's not how a relationship should have been, because I was just like, oh yeah, we're just going through a rough patch, it'll get over it, and it just never did. If you guys watched my video, you know how it ended. So there was a time after Grayson was born. I think I forgot to mention when Alan punched my door. Grayson was in his crib, only about not even a month old. No, he had to be older. I think Grayson was a little over a month old, actually. Alan had punched the hole in my door when Grayson was in my room in his crib, and that completely set me off because my mama bear senses just went off, and I grabbed Alan by the throat and I held him up against a wall, and I told him if he ever did that again, he was going to regret it, because he's not to punch shit and act the way he was acting in front of my son. And I was so angry at him. I was done with his attitude at that point, because you don't do that in front of my son. I don't care who the fuck you think you are. That is my son. You do not act that way in front of him. But there was a time, we were the last couple, I think it was like one of the last times I was at Alan's place where he was living with the people he was. And we had had an argument at like midnight, I think it was, and he was just really being rude and everything, saying such disrespectful things. He kept walking out of the door, and like, I was trying so hard not to have an anxiety attack and everything, because I'm not home. I'm at some other person's place, and I don't need them to be like, oh, are you okay, and blah 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 blah, trying to get like all up in my shit and everything while I'm trying to calm myself down, taking care of a kid who his father doesn't even help me with, and who's also blowing up and being the way that he is. And it was so bad to the point where I was huddled in the corner with Grayson in the inside of the corner while I'm on the outside. I'm holding him. Alan's trying to like tell me, oh, give me Grayson, and I'm like, no, get the fuck away from me. Like, I literally told Alan not to touch me, and I had been like telling him to go away and everything. There was a point also that night where Alan had told me to get out of his house, and Grayson's not even 2 months old. It's the middle of summer. So I looked at him and I started walking out the door, and he grabbed me and told me no. And that was also the night where I had Joey ready to come get me, because he wasn't about to let me walk home at 2 in the morning almost with a not even 2-month-old who's probably exhausted at this point because of everything going on. And there was also a point that night where Alan had told me that he regretted being with me and just so much stuff, and he had tried telling me, oh, I said it out of anger, and it's like, regardless of if you're angry at somebody, you don't say that kind of stuff. Like, I would never have said that I regretted being with him out of anger or anything like that. Like, I was so done at that point. Like, I tried to just be like, to get over it, but at this point, I'm so out of breath. At this point, Joey had been like so there for me and was like so sweet and just everything, that it kind of just opened my eyes, and I was like, this is not how I need to be treated. And I want to make it very clear, I did not leave Alan because I wanted to be with Joey. I did not leave Alan to go be with Joey. Joey showed me that I was being treated poorly. And Lizzie had also helped me like realize that Alan was not treating me the way I needed to be treated, and I should be getting out of that relationship. And finally, it opened my eyes because of how Joey was treating me, and it made me come to my senses, and I had left him. And after I left him, I felt really like free and like able to breathe, but also I was like super like uptight a lot of the time. Like, Joey was the only guy that I had trusted after breaking up with Alan, and I had trusted Joey so much. Like, Joey lived with me for a little while, like anything you could think of, I trusted Joey with. Like, he was my main person, like my boy best friend. Like, he's my boy best friend, and I'm so thankful that he came into my life, because if he didn't, I probably wouldn't have realized what was going on, and until way later down the road. I probably wouldn't be with Alan right now, honestly, but still. But Joey was there for me and Grayson a lot, which I'm very thankful for, and he knows that I'm very thankful for it. And yeah. Now, how do I feel now about everything? It's very hard still to talk about it. Like, I don't like always, like, I don't just sit there and talk about it. Like, no. It is really hard to talk about things and like just sit there and remember things, because I try to just not remember things that happened in me and Alan's relationship, because it does tear me apart thinking about it. It's just really hard. Like, people, so for relationships nowadays, they're really hard for me, and I have a lot of people who will sit there and be like, well, why can't you just pick one guy and stick with him, stop playing guys' hearts and everything. And it's like, I'm not playing anybody's heart. Like, when you have gone through what I did in a relationship, that ruins a lot for you, and it's terrible. I don't ever for a minute hope that somebody is ever in the position that I was in, or even a worser position than what I was in, because it sucks. It's terrible. I hate it. It's just so, it's so disgusting. And it's just so stressful, and I can't. It did really ruin relationships for me. I don't trust guys easily. Like, I've tried like talking to guys a lot. Like, I've tried talking to guys to get interested in them, and it's like, I'll be okay talking to them for like the first hour and a half maybe, and then they'll start being like, oh, I wish you were here to cuddle and everything, and I'm just like, I can't do it. Like, that's where like I just stop answering, because I am just so overwhelmed at that point, and I just don't think that I'm ready at that point. And it's just really difficult, and it's hard. So I don't think I'm going to get with anybody anytime soon, which a lot of people had been like asking me why me and Tristan broke up, and it's like, nobody needs to know like the details or anything, but it was like, I was not in a mentally good spot, And just everything was so overwhelming also when Tristan came up. And it just kind of ate me away. And it was just so, like, it was so bad that I couldn't stay. Like, I couldn't. Like, and he can understand that or he can't. I don't care if he understands or not, because I don't really care. I could care less what he thinks about me or what he says about me. I don't care. Because I'm going to do what's best for me. I'm not going to let my mental health get completely destroyed because of a guy again. I'm going to do what's best for me and what's best for my child, and me being mentally okay is my number one priority right now. I've been talking to somebody who a lot of you guys have been like, oh, who are you talking to? Because I've been like trying to throw out hints and said things on TikTok, but a lot of you guys have guessed it, and the hoodie gave it away. So yeah, I have been talking to Joey again, so, and I'm really glad that I am. I'm really glad that I'm talking to him again, because like things had not been the same since like me and him stopped talking. And a lot of you guys, like, people have like been guessing like, oh, you treated Joey like shit, so that's why he left you and all this stuff. And it's like, y'all don't even understand the reasons why we like grew apart from each other. There was a lot going on that nobody needs to know about, and that's just going to stay between me and Joey, because it's me and Joey's business. We're not going to sit here and like explain it unless one day we really want to. But I'm just glad that I have my boy best friend back, and he misses Grayson a lot. He's video chatted Grayson a bunch, and he just misses Grayson, and I can't wait for him to come up so I can see him, because I've definitely missed one of my best friends. Hasn't been the same without him here. Obviously, I have Lizzie, which that's a bond that's never gonna break, but you know, she's my girl best friend. Joey's my boy best friend, if that makes sense. But yeah, Joey has helped me through a lot, and it just hasn't really been the same since me and him grew apart for a while, but I am really glad that he's back. So yeah. So basically, I felt alone a lot. There were a lot, basically throughout my whole pregnancy. Basically through my whole pregnancy, I had really bad anxiety to where I would start having like small contractions that would start scaring me, and it was because I was so stressed out and so overwhelmed with everything going on in our relationship that it was affecting Grayson. And I hate myself so much for dealing with that for so long, because it was hurting him, and I never even like really knew that it was hurting him until just like after I had him. And I never wanted to hurt him. Like, he's my baby. I don't want him to be hurt. He's my baby. So you would think that I would be like, oh, let's talk about stuff, which I definitely had tried to talk to him. After arguments, there would be times where he would just sit there and I'd be like, you need to change, like, I can't keep dealing with this. And he would change for maybe a week, and then he'd be right back to how he was again, and I just kind of knew in the back of my mind that's how it was gonna go. Like, it wasn't gonna change or anything. And it just started to become a part where I just didn't feel like there was a point in trying to talk to him about it anymore. And I just dealt with it, which is terrible, because you should never have to just deal with somebody taking their anger out on you, because a lot of the times Alan would just be taking things out on me that had nothing to do with me and his relationship. He would just take so much stuff out on me, and I would be like, why do you take your stuff out on me? And he'd be like, well, there's nobody else I can take it out on. And it's like, that's not the correct answer. Like, you shouldn't be taking it out on me. You should be able to control your anger, sit down and talk to me. Like, there were times where I would just, like, beg him to be like, what is wrong? Why don't you talk to me? Like, but Alan's the type of person that doesn't like talking to people, and that's a lot of his issue, is he doesn't like to talk about his feelings and things that are going on. And it's hard, so he takes them out on those who he's supposed to love, and don't fly with me no more. Alright, so back on the topic of arguments. So, like I said, me and Alan never really argued at all until after I got pregnant. After I got pregnant, we did have a couple of arguments in the beginning of my pregnancy, but those were kind of like, okay, hormones, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. So those were more or less towards my hormones. But as further down the line, that started to be the factors that it wasn't my hormones anymore. And that was like the thing that was always on my mind at the time when all of this was, like, all the arguments were happening and stuff. It was just like, oh, I'm super sensitive and he doesn't like that, or oh, my hormones, I'm like, it's making me think, they're making me think that, oh, the situation is 10 times worse than what it actually is. You're just being over dramatic and thinking that it's 10 times worse when really it's just a misunderstanding between us and you just need to get over it. So that's kind of how, like, I ran with every single argument and fight, no matter how bad it was between us. Always in the back of my mind, I was like, it's just my hormones. I'll get over it. Everything's fine and we'll be all right. And it'll stop after I have Grayson and my hormone levels are all back to normal. And everything will just be perfectly fine after I have Grayson, and we'll just be back to how we were before I got pregnant. And that wasn't the case. Arguments had started getting a lot worse. There were times where I would be having anxiety attacks in the corner of my room, because this is a dumb move on my part, but when me and Alan would be arguing, I was so high keen on wanting to just sit down and talk about things and work them out. I would sit in the corner of my room so he wouldn't leave, because Alan would have a tendency to walk out of my house and not text me for a while, which is very hard to deal with when you're pregnant, because you don't know, there's a billion things going through your mind, like, oh my god, am I alone on this now? Like, a billion thoughts went through your head when something like that had happened. And it's completely, like, different when you're not pregnant and you are pregnant. But again, both situations shouldn't be the way that they are. But I would sit in the corner and I'd have an anxiety attack. And I remember, it's very fuzzy, I don't remember what was going on. I know we were arguing about something, and I, like, was backing away from him, I think. Like I said, a lot of the stuff is really, like, blurred. I can't really remember, like, every single detail on things, just because of, like, how overwhelming things were. If you've been in a situation like that, you definitely know what I mean. But I remember there was a point where I was, like, backing up and I had tripped over something, and I was like 26, 27 weeks pregnant, and I had landed right on my back and I had hit my head off of the wall. And that was probably one of the most scariest moments of my life, like, ever. I had started to have, like, really bad, like, cramping and everything, and I was like, great, this is it, I'm done being pregnant now, like, everything's just got ruined. And just everything started going through my mind. Like, I was having, like, a hysterical anxiety attack. I was concerned that I had a concussion from how hard I hit my head. And thinking of it now, you would think at that point in our relationship, like, when something like that had happened because of us, like, going back and forth with something, or him just being super duper upset over something and taking it out on me, You would think him seeing that I was genuinely like hurt and concerned and just so overwhelmed at that point, you would think that that would like have like clicked something in his head and been like, oh shit, maybe I need to change and things need to change in our relationship. And that just never happened. There were points through arguments where he would actually punch my walls. I can show you guys later. He had punched the wooden frame around my closet, which obviously there's no hole because it's wood, not drywall. There are knuckle marks by Grayson's crib from before we had the layout with the crib, from where he punched. I'm pretty sure there's one behind my TV, and there was also a giant hole, which I'm pretty sure you could see where I tried to fix it, but there was a giant hole about this big in my wall from where he had punched my door. For a while I had a picture hanging over it so my mom wouldn't see it, because I didn't want my mom to see it and know about it, because that's just something I didn't want to have to hear about and deal with. I just was like, okay, I'll fix it, just forget about it. Yeah. But I will definitely show you guys them later. And that was basically like as intense as it had ever gotten, because I had like started to come to my senses towards that. But having him punch something because he'd rather punch something besides instead of punching me, like, you shouldn't even have had the thought of like wanting to punch me, so you punch something else instead of me. Like, there were definitely times where he would be so angry and I would look him dead in the face and I'd be like, you want to hit me, so hit me. Like, I didn't give a shit at that point. Like, I knew he wouldn't hit me, and it was just something that I would say because I wasn't afraid of him punching me. Like, it's hard to explain. Like, it's really, really hard to explain, like, all of that. But yeah, I changed my room color hoping that it would help, and it kind of has helped me a little bit, but just having the holes in my wall and seeing my door where the patch job that I did is, it's just like a constant reminder every day of what had happened in here. And it does, like, it's really hard to just be in here. Like, I don't really come in my room anymore very often, just because I like to stay away from here. I used to like live in my room all the time, and I think that really just ate me away, being surrounded by all like the stuff that had happened in here. It's just really, really hard. Yeah. So basically, just to like give you a like run over a little bit, me and Alan's relationship was going really, really well, and then I got pregnant, and I guess you could say his true colors kind of like shone through, and he really, really changed after that, and everything just kind of spiraled downhill from there, and so many different things started to happen, and they just weren't the types of things that should happen in a healthy, good, loving relationship, and things that were happening just wasn't things that you shouldn't have done if you love the person. So yeah, that, again, it was just a skimmed run through. If you want more details, definitely go watch the other video. That will probably be so much more helpful for this video for you, because it will make a whole lot more sense if you go watch that other video. So I'm first going to talk about arguments. So our arguments, we used to never ever argue or anything. I know that in the beginning of our relationship, we had one argument, and I had told him flat out, I was like, alright, listen here, I'm not going to deal with this if you're going to be like this. excuse me, choked on something. If you're gonna be like this, I'm not staying. I don't need this in my life. Like, I have enough going on as is. I don't need this in my life. And after that, everything was pretty perfect after that. Like, he was like, oh shit, she's actually serious. And I kind of feel like after a while, he stopped taking me so seriously. Like, it used to be, I would tell him something and that I didn't like a certain thing that he was doing, and he took it seriously. And after I had gotten pregnant, it was kind of like he just stopped taking me seriously, stopped caring about how I felt and how things were affecting me. That's just personally how I feel. That's another thing I want to say really quickly before I get into any more of this video. This is just how I felt. I'm talking about things that actually happened. I don't want people to like go run off to Alan and be like, oh, she's talking mad shit about you. I'm not, because I'm not going to sit here and tell things that are not true, that are not that had never happened or anything like that. This is just how I felt. And just like the video that I talked about a relationship, I never said anything like that was a lie about in that video. Like, everything that I had said was 100% honest. Some people might not like how I worded things and everything, but this is just how I'm talking about it. And I'm talking about this because I want to be able to help people who may be in situations that are similar to what I was in, and help them, because I know that there are tons of people out there who are in a very bad relationship and they just don't see it or really think it, because I definitely didn't see it or think it until very far along after I had been into it for quite a while. So if people see this and like are like, oh, well, my relationship's kind of like that, maybe I should start like looking out for more signs and stuff, they can get out of that relationship before it gets 10 times worse. Because I'm very glad that I got out of the relationship, because I don't know if anything would have gotten worse. I'm not saying Alan would have done anything super, super bad or anything. I'm definitely not saying that. I don't think he would. But there's always that off chance that there's something like that could happen in a very bad relationship. So trying to help other people by talking about what it was like to be in a bad relationship can help tons of other women, tons of other men, just anybody in the world who's dealing with something like this. It can help them, which is just why I feel like I want to sit down and talk about it. It's just how I'm going to talk about it, so just putting that out there. So first, I'm basically just going to talk a little bit about the relationship, and if you guys haven't figured it out already, I am talking about me and Alan's relationship. So if you did not watch the video of what happened, the story you guys had, or the video you guys had all been waiting for quite a while, you should definitely go watch that video, because if you go watch that video and then watch this one, it will definitely make a whole lot more sense. But I'm basically just going to give a skimmed version of what I sat down and said, which I'm kind of wanting to, I kind of do feel like I should sit down and refilm that video at some point, because I feel like some things I did not talk about because I was too nervous to talk about at the time, that I'm not as nervous to talk about now. But yeah, anyways, let's just hop right into the video. So this video probably is going to be kind of difficult to talk about. I'll probably like jump here and there and everywhere, just because like some parts of it are like really big blurs to me, because just a lot had been happening, and being pregnant and everything kind of like makes you just like forget things. So some places will probably be blurs, and then I'll remember certain things, so bear with me. I wrote down stuff on this paper so that I can try to kind of like stay on certain topics, but again, I will probably jump from topic to topic to back to other topics, so just bear with me. I'm trying my best at this, so yeah. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, and if you are new, welcome to my channel. So today's video is going to not be really like, oh, a fun video, yay. It's kind of more of a serious topic that I've kind of wanted to talk about recently, because I have been having like people like bring some stuff up about past relationships and everything. So I just kind of wanted to like sit down. I had asked you guys on my Instagram if you guys thought this was a good video, and a lot of you guys did want to hear this, like see this type of video. So I'm glad that you guys do want to see this type of video, because I don't really feel like a lot of people kind of like talk a lot about this type of stuff. But yeah, but basically today I'm going to just be talking about what it was like to be in a very bad relationship. I guess you could say it's an abusive relationship, but I don't like putting that, what's the word? That banner on that type of, like, this subject. I like to just say bad relationship, because I guess you could say that some things that have happened would have been abusive, but when people hear abusive, they think of hitting, which that never happened. So we're just gonna leave it as bad relationship. So if you guys want to hear how it was like for me being in a bad relationship, just keep on watching. So it's a couple nights later, and I completely forgot about showing my walls and stuff to you guys, so I'm gonna do it now. This is like the first hole in my wall. This is like one of the like little ones, but you can definitely see where his knuckles. So I had to move my thing on my wall, but this is another one that's in my wall. So this is where I tried to fix it. I might redo it again at some point, but yeah, the hole is about like, it's about the size of my my hand that would go through it, so it's a pretty big hole in my door. And then this is the pillar of like hardwood that he would like punch, because it never left a hole in this, because it's like really hard wood.